when we were young, my mother wouldn't sew a button on a Sunday. She would not take a needle and thread in her hand on a Sunday. So they were so strict. You didn't knit on a Sunday, and it was just a relaxation day and no housework.
You never move
What house on a Saturday?
House on a Saturday. No, move wherever. You stay there until.
Yeah. What day would you move on?
You could move any other day, but not on the Saturday.
Not on a Saturday.
No.
Never heard it.
No.
You were going to a new house. You went on a Friday, and and businesses were really. If you started a business, open a shop, you opened it on a Friday. And of course, it was a good business day. So there was a reason for it as well as the superstition end of it.
My mother was very superstitious. She, if you broke a mirror, I remember breaking a mirror at home one time, and I remember her putting her hands up to her face. Oh my God, 7 years bad luck. You know, I remember that. I remember that well. I can still see her face.
They believed that.
Oh, she firmly believed it, and she believed in the Banshee. She was McGrath, and she believed the Banshee followed the Max.
Yeah, but a lot of Irish people did believe, didn't they, really?
I
suppose there was.
And if you heard it was a sign that somebody in the family was going to die.
If you heard the Banshee.
If you heard the Banshee, yeah.
Oh, you weren't allowed to go into a fairy fort in a field. No, we were in dread of fairy fort.
Yeah.
Yeah. We never really knew why, except it was supposed to be haunted or bad luck or whatever. Yeah.
There was a tree in the middle of a field at home, and you only went within a certain distance. I don't know why. You never supposed to be bad luck. You get bad luck for the rest of your life if you walked in. Yeah. It was the fairy tree. It was called the fairy tree. Yeah.
I know if you were going on driving along and you saw a white horse in a field, you turned your money. And I still do that today. Go for the bag straight away, turn your money.
You, what do you call those? Magpies.
Oh, I was thinking about magpies. I salute magpies.
She salutes them, yeah.
And I asked him, and you have to say as well, how are you, Mr. Magpie, and how are your family?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that?
Yeah. She does that.
You get a great laugh out of me, but I think you do it yourself now.
I
do you?
I don't.
Oh, I never pass a magpie without always give him a greeting.
Yeah. St. Patrick's Well here, and it's beautiful. There's a little building in the centre, isn't there?
There's an old church, yeah.
Yeah, and there's an old church there, and it's a lovely walk around.
It's beautifully kept.
And they go out once a year, isn't it?
Well, there's a parade out on St. Patrick's Day, but the trouble is it was a slope down, and they put in steps, and they're not just cement steps, they're stones, and they're not suitable for old people. So it's been difficult now to get down, and to come up, but it's much more difficult to go down. But other than that, it's the most beautiful well, and it's lovely within walking distance of the town. There's the ragwell then up the other end of town, up near the golf course. I don't know what that was used for, but we used to have picnics up there when we were children, and they left something behind it. I don't know, it's probably overgrown now. There's lots of lovely wells around. St. Declan's Well in Ardmore, and there's cures there for eyes and skin. And what other wells are there around?
Is there a cure in St. Patrick's Well? I don't know.
I don't know, but people would go out there all right to drink the water. They drink the water from the fresh. There's a fresh supply of water coming into the well, and people they drink the water out there for pains and things. And then there's another. In the Protestant church here in Mary Street years ago. We used to play there when we were children, and people used to come there. There was some kind of a cure there for warts. Well, Easter water, you spread it around for a start off, don't you?
Yeah.
And the country people put Easter water on their fields, and especially on their crops. They always do that.
Isn't there something about St. Bridget too? And it's before the eve of St. Bridget.
You hang out a rag.
You hang out a rag
on your clothesline. And then St. Bridget is supposed to fly over and bless the rag, the cloth, we'll say. And actually, we still do that. I would never ever. I always put out a bit of ribbon. And you keep it for a year, or you could keep it for longer. But it's you tie it. I heard a story once that a lady she was sewing, and she got a very fine knitting needle pushed into her finger, and it went up. It broke, I suppose. A bit of it went up, and she. This was supposed to be true now. She put a St. Bridget's rag around her wrist, and the needle came out just below it. Now, and it came out black, and it had been in her in the skin for quite a while, but she put it down to us as St. Bridget's rag. It didn't go above this blessed rag. So that was something now that really was meant to have happened. So All Souls Night, and you did the visits. So you went to the Friary, or we used the Friary because it was the nearest to us, and you did an Our Father, Hail Mary, and a Glory for each person of your family that was predeceased you. And then you did the round of the town afterwards, look in the windows. The windows be all dressed up for Holy Thursday night. And then you went home and you set the table for people that were dead belonging to you, and you let them out food. You let them play set, and you let them food, and you lit a candle, and you went to bed. And you presumed that they would come. Of course, it was always there again in the morning, nothing was gone. But you did it automatically, year in, year out. And that was the eve of.
Is that the same as your story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was another lady used to come in at home. My mother was in the country, and she always kept her friends. They came in to visit her when we were living in town, but they always came to visit, and that was on a regular basis every week. And one lady used to come in my mother was from Careside, and she used to come in, and she used to have holy water. She'd get a big bottle of holy water, Easter water, and she'd bring it home to put it in all the corners of her fields, and this had to be done every year as well. So we'd get the holy water for her, and there used to be a barrel of holy water left out in the friary in the side path, and we get our big bottle, and that would be kept for her, and she'd take it home then to put it on the land and the crops, as she said herself, and certain days then May Eve sprinkled in the four corners of the field, and
we did that too.
Yeah, they always kept up that at home.
We had the May procession, always, and we'd be all dressed in our communion, and we'd have a basket full of petals, roses, and we'd walk 10 steps, and we'd turn around and kiss the petal and put it on the ground. The Blessed Sacrament would be coming after us, the priest.
Yeah, I remember that all right. Yeah.
It was a lovely procession, really lovely. Everybody, it was grand. It was so, I don't know, it's so simple, and yet it's so
innocent.
Yeah.
No, I remember dancing.
But you had to have your basket of petals, and you walked 10 steps, and we all turned around and kissed the petal and put it on the ground.
The friars you go out questing, they used to go, they'd hire a car, and well, in my day they used to hire a car, and they go out to the farms, different farms, and they'd be brought in and they'd be entertained, like they give them tea and whatever, and then they'd give them something going home. I suppose they might give them money, but they definitely might give them potatoes, apples, things like that they could live on. And they go around, that would go on for a while until they got in enough stock again, because they had no other way of...
They brought out holy water with them.
Oh, they bring holy water with them.
Yeah.
And the farmers always came in, and the country people always came in to get the friary water, and they'd fill up their bottles and they'd bring it home, and they would sprinkle it on the animals in the fields, in the corners of the fields, and if they put down a crop, they'd sprinkle it on, around the corners of the crop and all that sort of thing. And they really believed, like, the faith was there. They really believed that this was what they did. Another thing they used to do was for Good Friday, you turned, like years ago, people had an awful lot of pictures on their walls. It wasn't a minimalistic look like they have now, and we always turned the pictures. You turned the pictures into the wall for Good Friday. Everything was turned into the wall, and I remember at home we had a wireless in the sitting room. There was no televisions in those days, and my grandmother, Lord mercy on her, she'd cover the wireless completely with a rug. You didn't even see the wireless on that day. No one turned it on. Good Friday was black. You never saw the wireless that day, and all pictures turned into the wall.
And any eggs we got, we were from the country, and the hens, any eggs the hens laid on Good Friday, you put a cross on them. Oh, right. And you ate them on Easter Sunday.
It was very superstitious, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it now, really?
Yeah.
But there was a woman, Jackie Fahey. Did you ever hear him? Councillor Jackie Fahey. Well, his mother. We used to go up for the milk to them, and we'd go up every evening, and we have the milk and the cows, and she'd bless every churn before she'd give out the milk to the people, and she put a cross on your gallon when you'd be coming away from the thing, a Lord mercy on her. And I never forgot her, and Jackie and myself were the only two children on the mountain road, and of course we used to get the best of everything from everyone, you know.
I heard about eggs was on Maeve. The people, well, Pishrogs really, were afraid of their crops and all that. And there were certain people, only certain types of people, they used to go around with eggs and put them in the drills and whatnot. That meant he'd have a bad crop and they'd have a good crop.
Oh, see.
He'd take the potatoes or whatever was sowed, they'd to develop in his and be good, and theirs would be failures. Oh, skimming the wells, that's the usual thing. They're forced to the well with skim it. And what do they do with the, forget now. They take
a bottle from the well.
They take something anyway that the next lot of water or people that had come to the well, they wouldn't get pure water.
Yes.
They wouldn't get what they call well water, spring water. They'd have the good taken out of it. The Easter Holy Water, the people, all the people around at my place, I forget which day or which eve it was, but they'd bless every corner of their fields with the Easter Holy Water.
Easter Saturday, wasn't it?
To develop good crops and to keep everything fine.
That's right. You know the way children come to their nanny for money, or their mother or their father for that matter, but you didn't give a child any coppers. You gave them silver. It had to be a silver coin, a threepenny piece even, and that was a lot of money. Like when we were children, or a sixpenny piece. Lord, you'd be a millionaire if you got that, you know. And that's what I know about Hansel Monday anyway.
And another thing, they always put up on the dung heap, you know, the dung heap that had been in the yard, the maypole they used to call it, and it would have to be a piece of the hawthorn bush covered with eggshells and all, primroses and all this business. That was to keep away any evil.
The puka.
The puka, yeah. Well, the belief is that you have to have 3 feet of the wild nettles in May, and it purifies the blood and keeps you fit and well for the rest of the year.
That's right. Yeah. If you had a wart, and I had it, and there's still the little trace of it there, and you spat upon it, first thing fasting in the mornings, for 7 mornings, it would be gone. Yeah, well, I was spitting on it for years, and I still have a little trace of it there.
Well, the Banshee, she used to follow the deaths of certain families.
That's
there
right.
had to be certain families, and she'd cry and cry and cry when a person of them families would die. She'd go to all the relations' places and she'd be heard crying.
Right.
She really did do it.
Oh.
She was heard that cried. She cried outside our window one night, and my grandfather had died suddenly.
He must have been an Ora Mac then, was he?
Huh?
He must have been an Ora Mac.
Oh,
He must be McCarthy or an O'Sullivan or something.
He was O'Farrell.
Ah, well, there you are. Yeah.
And outside our window, she frightened the life of us. There was only my mother and us children there. And we really and truly heard her. Such a mournful cry.
This was the poker. This was a man. This was the devil, actually, supposed to be. And he went around the night before Halloween night, yeah, looking for children. And if the poker put a cross on you, he put it on your cot outside the door. And actually, your cot, apparently I must have been left outside our cottage, but you put up a cottage there today, and it was the very same as the cottage I lived in. And this cross would be put on the door going in, and on the house going in, the way the poker wouldn't come in, like, they signed the cross. So anyway, he got in one night, and he went upstairs, apparently. My grandfather used to tell this one. And he went up along the stairs. No one saw him at all. And anyways, she was giving out the rosary, the grandmother, or the mother, I don't know which one. But anyway, she couldn't get out the rosary beads to bless him. And she had a bottle of holy water. And she cut the bottle of water and she said, "Snotty nose, I'll drown you," she said. That's how she got rid of the poker. So he didn't take any of his way. So that's a funny story, supposed to be. But I don't think that the present children of the country would believe the half of that. Like, he was evil, you see. This is what she was getting rid of. And they'd say the act of contrition, and there was no sign of a man going. Well, it was done like, you prayed for all your souls, like the people that you thought your own were dead, and you put a big candle in the window. But there was funny mix up with that one and a Christmas candle, wasn't there, Mary?
There was a Christmas candle. It's put on the window on Christmas Eve.
That's right,
a light, and it has to be put on the window. That's to welcome the Blessed Virgin and Saint Joseph.
Oh, yeah. Well, the other one.
The other one is.
Go on.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The one on Souls Night is in remembrance of people belonging to you that died, that are safe and happy in heaven.
Yeah, well, I was told, like, you're supposed to be told that for all souls passing by in the night. That's what the All Souls Night was for.
Yeah.
So that's all.
There was what they called, there was a name on it, a coat that just travelled different parts at night. And if you meet that, you'll have very bad luck. It's travelling like, and really well, and no horse, to a horse coach, and no horse, but it's moving there. People have seen it and really believe that it does be on the route. We were farmers, and my father was a big farmer, really, of them days.
Yes.
And we used to go in a nice little boarding to our house, and the boarding went on further to another house. But the man in the other house died just recently. But anyway, my father was out this night herding sheep that were lambing and that, and he had to go back the boarding to go in a gate to the field. And on the way in the boarding, he met this man riding a horse. The man that died used to always ride a horse. He met this man riding a horse, and he almost had said good night, Paddy, until he realised he was dead. Well, he got the shock of his life, and he came back in, and he was pouring down with sweat. And that is really true.
Yes.
He did see this man that had died riding the horse in the boarding. He nearly had said good night, Paddy, and he was thanking God he didn't, because he says he didn't know what it had meant. So I know people that when any of them die, the lights would appear in your garden or the front of your house, several lights, and you couldn't know where they came from or what they were, but they were there. The lights were shining quite. And my grandfather, the Lord have mercy on him, lived with my uncle, my father's brother, the other side of the road. They lived in the house and we were this side. And of course when he was ailing and fading away, my father used to be over every night to see him. So he did say to him this night, he says, when I die you'll know you don't have to be here, so you'll know. So we were all in bed and well asleep. It was the middle of the night when 3 big knocks came to the hall door, really loud. And my father said, what the heck? He went down anyway. He said, who's coming? And said, no one there, nothing at all. So he said, God, he said, would it be a warning for my father? He went across and went over, and the father was just after dying.
It's fair, but yeah. It would be your nerves to be playing on you or something.
No, he was just after dying. It occurred to my father on account of what he said. He said, don't worry, you'll know as soon as I die. You don't have to be here.
And they blessed the corners of the fields, the house with the holy water and May Eve. And they shaken the house, the 4 corners of the house as well, to shake the holy water. And we heard any noises in the house and shake us up with holy water, and the whole has to stop. Whatever, the holy water, people believed in the holy water years ago. But I'd be the same, I would believe in the holy water always myself. I would like to go to bed at night and do the holy water. And then when we were young, my mother used to shake the holy water, we'd be in bed, we'd be ducking in under the blanket. She nearly drowned us inside the bed. It's the water fell in tops in the bed. But they all believe in that though. So we all come up with it then, like, you know. They brought holy water. Ordinary water, like, no, they lived out on a windowsill and they left bread or something there. And when the Blessed Virgin was supposed to be passing, she blessed the water and blessed the place, like, no, the house and whatever, when she be passing by. And that's what was always taken into the house then, to be used for anything else when they kept in the house for look. And they have the band, then they had tied onto a white horn bush or something. Or even a gate, they had to tie to a gate. And out the I know a man used to tie it on the latches at a stable door. Then places band, like, no, it was a cure in it, like, no. But then people believed, if they believed it, they think it's supposed to cure you, like. I did see it being done up the hill there. I see a man on now 2 cows of a house and a little fire, and that tomb down, and they met the cow. She jumped over it, like, no, jumped over the fire, like, small in the fire, jumped over it. She had to go because there were people at each side, and they kept going, and she jumped over the fire too. They jumped over the fire. That was for look or something. The cow would never go dry or something like that. Something attached to it, all right. That's a story to it, all right. We have to skip in the way. They'd be gone early in the morning. The fair young maid who goes to the field at break of day. And she'd be there before, and the cows don't milk so well after that. But at the skimming of the way, just would be unlucky. But the look, she takes the look, away from the person she do it, like, no. She'd take the look, she would skim the well. And that's what they used to do. The whirlwinds to come along and to bring the hay off the ground and off up in the air to bring it. And when I was walking the golf above, Davy Fagg had a field of hay just across the road. And a big bunch would come in into the golf, and next thing, way up over the hill it went. To the sign of water and weather to see that. But the old people always say, well, you see it, no matter what you do in the field, sit down. That's something got to do with fairies or something. The she, yeah. All the old people, they're very good to see that come, they'd all stop. They wouldn't do a thing after it just gone away. They put eggs into spuds, and when you dig out the spuds, you'd have a bad crop. I knew people were doing it, and they had a very bad crop of spuds after that. It's a very unlucky thing to do, I say. The people that used to do it, they wouldn't have any look for it in the morning. The zoo and the neighbour, like, or, and they'd have to go in the night time or something to do it, at dawn or something, to bring the eggs into spuds. I know a man there, well, the house was all dead and gone, but he was taking the spuds. The first thing he found was the eggs. He said, I will give up. Because he said, there's crap will be over. A child that had been dead born, they wouldn't be buried in the graveyard at all. They'd have to be buried in the fort. They wouldn't be allowed in the Catholic Church. They'd have to be buried in the fort. And it's very unlucky to touch a thing out of a fort. Yeah. There was a fort out there, the arcade there a few years ago, and during the big storm, a couple of trees fell there. So this man brought out a horse in a horse box for to haul out the trees. And this man had a horse every day in the wood hauling timber. Brought out this mare. And if he killed the horse, he couldn't get into the gate of the fort. That's a hope. The boys before come out through her. No way could to the fort. He had to bring her home again. Brought her down to walk the morning after, down to the wood. Brought her into the wood, hauled away the timber, the same as every other day. No, he couldn't get into the fort. That's a hope. And Mayor can see a ghost, but a horse can't, you say. So the priest went to a sick hall one night, and he had to go by horseback. And the horse was in a leather switch, and he got to the house. The fish was dropping off her. She saw something on the road, like, and when he got to the house, the man was dead. But that horse, she was in an awful state. The fish was rolling down off her. He knew she had to see something. And he on her back. And the fish was rolled out of her. And when he went into the air, the fish was dropping down the ground off her. You see, a mayor can see the like of those things. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. There's up around the killing all that happens. This man had a donkey, like, and the donkey used to, he was lonely on his own. He used to break into another man's place, like, and the other man, that man was living down the road. He had a cattle and things in the field, and maybe he had a horse or something. But the poor donkey was lonesome on his own, and he used to break into this fellow's field. And the man got fed up, and he caught him this day anyway. And he brought him up to the shed, and he cut one of the ears off of the donkey. And the donkey was bleeding so much that he got a vision put down the donkey. So the priest, he never set it off a daughter. He said, the man that done that, he said, he never have any luck. And the next baby was born, a little boy with 1 ear. That's happened. And listen, a couple of weeks ago, a man told me that now. That the child had only 1 ear. See, the way it happened, like, he said he cut the ear off a poor donkey that brought such a lot into Jerusalem, he said. And that's how the cross is on the donkey's back. Because he brought such a lot into Jerusalem. And that the donkey was blessed. And the cross, that's how the cross and donkey's back up. There could be a gate where in the field place where you did make a short course. You might be able to find the gate. And the modern as you could see the gates as places could be. I know a man who did to a field one night to make a short cut home. And he had to go back out to where he got in again. He couldn't find the gate. That's all. It was unlucky, he said. Dead of the night, like, you know. They always said to live the dead life, that's the time for the dead, not for the living. So they say. People have been dead for years. They would have. He was dying on his bed, and then he was just dying off. And he had a thorough priest. He said, if Father Tom was only here, he said, I die happy. If he's only could find the next time, the priest appeared at the room door and disappeared again. The priest prayed that he kept the room door and blessed your father inside in the bed and disappeared. The man just died off then. Yeah. Those stories like those there years ago, the people today, they don't believe in anything at all. It's make out that want to make up with this. My mother, God be good to her, all gone now, to her woman in this town, and she was pregnant, and my mother, she at a funeral, she said, don't go inside that gate, whatever you're doing. Oh, she said, that's only nonsense. I'm telling you now, she said, don't ever go inside the gate, she said, when you're pregnant. Now never bring a child inside the gate lying down on the pram. Keep the child sitting up. And they got that poor woman lost her baby. She did. So I had a nephew living up in Galway, and he had to leave the house he was in. He couldn't stay in it. At night time, all the children's toys were all thrown around the floor in the morning, and they'd be all gone to bed. And he could hear the bread prattling on the tables and everything. And it got a priest to say a mass in the house. So a priest came and he blessed the place, he said mass in it. So he was still hearing it all the time. So anyway, in the finish, an engineer came along there. So he asked the engineer, what's would be the cause of it? He said, I tell you one thing, dig up the board off the floor. He said, it's in that room more than ISIS. So they found a small little skeleton, little baby was buried underneath the ground, in between the board and the ceiling. That happened up in Galway. He never lived in Galway. He had to leave this house. He got mass and all said there. And it didn't work until they found, when they found it then, it all stopped. So it was taken away and being buried. The bones, some nun is supposed to have a baby or something. And that's what happens.
The night before a wedding, put out the Child of Prague on the windowsill and you'll have a dry day. And the other thing is that people were always given a Child of Prague statue when they got married. And your luck was good forever if the head broke. But you kept the head and you kept the statue. If you happened to break a statue, you never threw it in the bin, you buried it. Because otherwise you'd have death and destruction and whatnot. So I think before I moved here in my house, we had a number of little graves with statues over the years. If there's a full moon, and you'll know when you go to draw them, I'm like this, and I'm going closing the curtains. And my family give out to me for being so superstitious and say, oh, for goodness sake, don't let the children hear you. But the other thing about the moon is, new moon, turn coin in your pocket.
Oh.
Did you ever hear that?
No,
That's, yeah. Well, there you are now. There's another one for you.
No.
If you take the straw, a little bit of straw from the cribs in the churches at Christmas, and put a bit in your purse, and you'll never be short of money. There'll always be money in it. Did you ever hear that?
I didn't know. No.
That now, I heard that since I came to Clonmel. And the same lady who told me about the straw and used to give me the straw gave me a handful. And she also, this year, gave me a bit of lily from last year. It was the Arum lily, the St. Anthony's lily was blessed. And there's a little bit left. She said, wrap that in a bit of paper tin foil, put it onto your mattress. And then yesterday she gave my daughter one that was best for me. So I made that with us and I put that in as well. Theory is that you'll always have money in your purse, which when you come to think of it, you will. Because if you're really stuck, you can open the coin and take the money out.
My wife's people were from Kerry, from Kilordlin, just outside Puckfair village there. And any time we were over there on holidays, like when our children were small, and the lady used to come out of the house, Bannon T, the lady of the house, she'd come out and she'd sprinkle holy water on us all and on the car and wish us farewell. There'd be tears all around, like, and off we went to make our way back over to Rosslare to get the boat back to England again with the car, like, and we were tired and worn out and everything from the holidays and the long drive and that kind of thing, but we never had an accident or a near miss or anything like that. We felt we were blessed by the things, and I'm a man of little belief, like, to be honest with you, and I found it reassuring that that there was a guidance from some Taoist or something like that, like, that might be in the atmosphere or something, that we can't understand as human beings, like, But there you go.
What used to happen was, if there was a Bridget in the house, and I think the same was say the East Coast and round Dundalk and that as well, she went outside and knocked at the door and said in Irish or English, get on your knees, kneel down, open your eyes and welcome Bridget in. And then they started making the crosses after that was done. And the crosses then were, there was an old scarf or piece of material wrapped around the cross. The crosses were left outside overnight, taken in the next day, and they were put around wherever they were needed. But there was always one, if it was a farm, put in the barns and the outhouses and that. I heard it here, about a piece of red cloth, and they used to walk around the house at night, at midnight, and I think drop it, and St. Bridget would have it up on the windowsill the next day, which meant that she had been there and you were blessed for the year.
My friend down there, who's my neighbour downstairs, like Mary McCarthy, she tells me about a ragwell that was up here just above the town, and young lovers used to leave a piece of their underwear there hanging from the tree, and that seemed to endow them with more potential capacity for passion more than anything else. But I couldn't see the side of it myself, like, you know what I mean? Either you liked it or you didn't, like,
When you would get the wedding cake, you put it onto your pillow, and you'd dream of the fellow you'd marry.
Oh yeah, never heard of it. No.
I can remember getting the wedding cake of somebody got married, and getting the cake, eating it. And I said, it'll be under the pillow anyway.
Yeah.
I remember being told never cut the whitethorn or never bring whitethorn into the house. It was unlucky. So it wasn't explained why, but you just didn't do it.
Yeah, we brought lilac in for the May altar. There was a woman next door who had a big lilac hedge, and we were asked to bring in flowers for the May altar, and that was it. My sole contribution was a bush of lilac, coming in along the road.
If you see a magpie, you look for the second one. And if you see a magpie, you greet it, my lord, something like that. But I find myself, as I'm getting older and remembering, that there's an afterlife, I find myself saying prayer after I say my lord. And the other superstition that I keep telling myself not to do it is you check the numbers in a car passing, and if they add up to 7, it's good luck. Or we used to have it as 21, and then I think I remember an article by Hugh Leonard, God rest him, and he said the number 7. But I keep telling myself, no, don't do that, and yet unconsciously, every so often I will do it, and I say, stop that nonsense. It was a sign of a death. Now, when you think of it, if you've got a window open and there aren't curtains behind and the window's wide open, natural thing, the bird will come in. But I can remember being terrified when it happened. And if a picture fell,
oh yeah, that was a common one.
That was a sign of death.
Yeah.
And I can remember distinctly a friend of mine, I'd say we were about 12 or 13 at the time, and they had moved into a new house, but upstairs we heard this bang and a wardrobe had fallen.
Oh dear.
Now the rooms weren't, I don't think the room was decorated or that they just sort of put in for him, but the wardrobe fell, and the same evening that she got word that her grandfather had died. So after that, if I heard a noise, I couldn't imagine how I felt.
Coincidental, most of it.
Completely.
Yeah.
Now looking back over 70 years, I can say yes, but then no.
Oh, the picture was favourite with the Kerry people as well, And there was one old fella that lived near my wife's place there in Killorglin, and he used to sit on his cart, on the shaft of the cart, and he had about 2 cows, I think. He used to bring a churn of milk into the creamery every morning, But the place where whatever happened to him, he wore Weltons all the time, But he went to get up on the shaft of the car as usual. It was a little bit high for his bottom, But he went to get up there and he slipped on the dung on the road in the farmyard. And down he went, and he hit his head against the rim of the wheel. And he wasn't right after it, And apparently the picture fell in his sister's house. The picture fell off of the wall, and I think he was dead about 3 days after that. I can't remember the exact details of it now, but that was the way it was with the picture on the wall and that kind of thing. And she was always dead keen to make sure, maybe in painting and frames and banging holes in the wall, and make sure that nail's gone in far enough now, and all that, tighten up that screw and Jesus. But still, you know what I mean, she was anxious about these things. She believed in them,
If a Catholic went to a Protestant funeral, they had to stand outside the gate.
Oh dear.
Which was the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yeah. But I think there was a great thing in confession. I didn't go to church for a long time, but there was a mission in our little church in Dagenham where we lived for a long time. And the priest had a mission there, so I said to myself, well, this is it now. I'm going to go to confession while the missioner's there. But I wasn't too bad of an individual, really. So I said to myself, well, I'll unburden myself as much as I can. So I did, and I never felt such relief from 5 minutes chat with the priest in the confessional. I felt astonishingly relieved when I came out, I said, geez, this is great, But But I said to myself, if I go back again on a monthly basis, like, it won't be the same, like, you know what I mean? It'll have to be a few years in it.
Good for you.
But you were talking there early on about the Hansel.
Yes.
Now, the way you used to do it in my house in Wexford, my grandmother, Lord of Mercy on her, was she'd give you the first Monday after Christmas, the first Monday of the year was Hansel Monday. And you gave them Hansel to whoever you were giving the Hansel to. But the following year, at the same day, you had to return the Hansel. Or that you weren't going to be lucky for the following year. You had to return the Hansel that was given to you the year before. No, that was the way we ran it in our time.
Every year I do it, been handed down like, every year I do it to my grandchildren. I give them the Hansel for Monday, you know, it's still going on, you know.
Well, a couple of miles out the town there's St. Patrick's Well.
Beautiful.
On Patrick's Day every year there was always a parade from here in Clonmel out to the Patrick's Well, and there was a ceremony out there. Could that be true?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And we used to get, in the old days, we used to get the blessed turf. They'd light the paschal fires outside the church and they'd give you a little bit of turf and you'd bring it home, and that'd be a sign that your house would be saved, would never go on fire. That was Easter time, but we still get the water, you know.
And of course the other one then is St. Anthony's Day, which was only last week.
That's right.
The Feast of St. Anthony, everyone got a blessed lily.
Yeah.
And you kept it in the house for the year.
You keep it for the year, yeah. She wouldn't wear anything green. She said one time she had an overall on her and she had to tie it at the back and the tie broke and she put on a green string to tie it and she hadn't a bit of luck. And if she had a sweet, got a present of it, you know, anyone give her a sweet in a green paper, she would pass it on to the nearest child. She wouldn't eat a sweet out of a green paper, you know. She was very much into that, you know, very much into that. But at the same time then she had a cure for warts, you know, and it was that you go out and pick the elder leaves and make the sign of the cross on each wart. And then you put it into a brown sugar bag. At the time there were the brown loose sugar bags. And then you put it into the earth. And when it would rot the bag, the warts would fall off. But the funny thing about it, a girl had her warts done years after, you know, and I said, I know a cure for that. She was after having them off in Cashel, but they grew again. So I told her, and I met her a couple of years after, and she said, look, I have no warts. I told her what my mother was after telling me. And another thing she tried everything for the cramps in the night time, you know, and everything in that, and she put the potatoes, they say put potatoes in the bed, she did that. The corks, she went down to the place where they'd be bottling, she got the cork. No, but the next thing this person told her, whatever shoes you're wearing, turn them upside down under the bed and you won't get a cramp. And it cured her. She never got a cramp after that. So that was passed on to us as well, you know. So she was that kind of a woman, you know, very much so.
Another one that I heard was that no one would dream of painting a house during the month of May.
Yeah.
That was a real old one now.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, you never use paint during the month of May.
You'd always hide the brushes in
Oh,
May.
yeah.
Yes. What was very popular for years was the nettles in the month of May. If you ate 3 feeds of nettles, you know, for your dinner, takes away every pain you'd have, you know, but you'd have to have the 3 lots of the nettles. I mean, they wouldn't look at them now, but you know, in days gone by, it was very popular, you know, the nettles. Yeah, my mother taught me that they used to put it in a field to wish people evil. Yeah, in a field they put the eggs, you know. But it's the same as the drills, like, but it was in a field, she said. Yeah, I did hear of it, yeah. Yeah, it was done in Clonmel, yeah. They wouldn't paint or anything, or they wouldn't, and especially of a Saturday, if you were moving house, no one had moved a Saturday, a Friday. Now, it happened when I was young, my sister was moving into her house, and the woman was going away of a Saturday. She was going to England, they were emigrating, it was way back, you know, and my mother said, now don't go into the house Saturday, you know, and she said, wait, no, they wanted to go in to take over, they were young married, and I declare to God, the floods came a Sunday, St. Patrick's Day it was, and they were back down with my mother again, yeah. It really happened, yeah, in our own family, yeah. They went in Saturday and they were out Sunday, yeah, they couldn't stay in the house. Even here in Clonmel, the majority of businesses, they never open, they open on a Friday. And Friday is a great day for anything, they say, you know. But of course it could be all superstition, again, we don't know. But they don't open business of a Saturday. Friday is the day in Clonmel for opening.
Tradition here every year over in the Protestant church here in St. Mary's, which is just at the top of the road. Every Saturday evening, the different churches,
they all meet.
St. Mary's and the Friary, and they'd all gather together and they'd light what they call the Paschal fire. That's it. It's tradition every Easter Saturday.
There was a graveyard, there's still a graveyard over the old bridge, you know, and we were warned that you wouldn't go in there, that if you fell, you know, we'd be playing, but if you fell, that you'd never be cured, whatever hurt you'd have, you'd never be cured, that it wasn't right to go in there, kind of, you know, and that the old people would say, don't ever go into a graveyard unless there's a funeral going in, you know. You know the way people go constantly now, but when we were growing up we were warned not to go in. It was kind of more superstitious, I'd say, than anything else, that to wait until the corpse was going in, you know. That you shouldn't be going in, kind of, you know. And so different now. All Souls Day, you know, when we were young, my mother would take out the tray that would be in the gas cooker and she'd light 12 candles. And she'd put it down on the floor, you know, but it would be 12 candles for the Holy Souls, and we'd all have to kneel down and say the rosary, you know. This is for all souls, you know, but that's all done away with now, you know. The snap apple, we used to call it, snap apple night. Never Halloween, sure we didn't tell you,
no.
Never. Oh, the Banshee, yes.
Yeah, I played cards before him yesterday.
The Banshees, if you ever found a comb on, you know, on the street long ago, you know, oh, that belonged to the Banshee, don't touch that. Don't touch that, you'd be afraid of your life. Afraid of your life with the Banshee's comb, yeah.
I did hear that, but how true it is, I don't know. But I definitely heard it all right. May is not a month for getting married.
Yeah.
In fact, some fella says every month is a bad month to get married.
Now they say they don't approve of it at all. Oh, leave it alone, it's gas.
They say if you got a bit of wedding cake that you'd put under your pillow and you'd dream of the man you'd marry. But I never done that because I always ate it. Do you ever hear that, Lena?
No.
There you are now, girl. And I heard of the Easter water going to each gap and blessing the gateways into the land. I heard of that, all right. You'd put out the cloth, and the next day then you'd bring it in and you'd keep it, and if you had a headache you'd put it around your forehead. It was supposed to cure your headache. I know a boy that was born with it, with the caul on his face, and they're saying sailors would give loads of money for it because they're supposed to never drown if they bring that with them out to sea. So that's all I know about it. I often heard of cures for a wart, so the dandelion. If you pull the dandelion, the milk of the dandelion cures, and that is true. Because I had a terrible wart there in that part of my finger. It was very, very sore, and I was weeding the garden, and the next day the wart was gone. Yeah, and it never came back, never. What I mean by Good Friday, for some reason or other, I don't know, but Good Friday. Yeah. There was a fort about a half mile down the road from my home place, and this land had lots of timber, and she told my brother that he could take the timber but not to touch the fort, not to touch it. No, she wouldn't allow that, she wouldn't allow him, but very bad luck to touch a fort. So that's all. He's unlucky to knock a swallow's nest. But even if he did knock it himself, they'd come back and build in the same spot the following year. Yeah, every year they come back to the same place. Saw a comb on the road, leave it where you saw it, because it belonged to the banshee. If you saw a comb on the road, you'd leave it, you wouldn't pick it up, because the banshee wanted it. You left it there. Yeah, you never pick up the comb. It's supposed to be good for your feet to walk in the grass with the dew on it. That's all I know about it. Never done it. Never done it. The only thing we were ever taught when we were children was not to go into the Protestant churches. Well, I don't know why, because our religion is the same now nearly, isn't it? You know, it's only when you grow up you say, well, sure, if there's only one God, what's the difference? What church you're in? You know, but that's what we were always taught when we were children. Don't go into the Protestant church. So.